Good morning. How about one more time? Good morning. All right. I think everybody's a little late this morning, so the few of you have to be just a little bit louder, okay? One more time. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Oh, all right. Now we got aggressive about it. All right. Excellent. Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Our service this morning is called The Sacred Work of Parenting. I am the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Intriligator, and I am pleased to be the minister of this church. My pronouns are she and hers, and from my family to yours this morning, happy Mother's Day. Before we go too far into our topic this morning, we just have a few announcements. It was a busy, busy week at church, so there's lots of thank yous to dole out. Thanks to everyone who bought flowers in support of our immigration ministry team. I think there are a few left for pickup still nope, they're all gone, says Paul. Excellent, good work, people. Thank you to everyone who cooked and served our meal for Bread of Life on Friday. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who participated in the first Opening Doors live concert that happened here in this room on Friday night. Yeah, it was amazing. The music was so good. Dan, I wish you'd been here. The new speakers, amazing, amazing. We could really appreciate them on Friday night. It was beautiful. We had 63 people in person and 41 on Zoom, so we broke the magical 100 mark, which is a big piece of success for us. So thanks to everybody, and congratulations to all the planners and everyone who helped. Sadly, due to sickness, we had to postpone last night's much-anticipated Parents' Night Out. That will be rescheduled very soon, ASAP. Please keep your eye out for emails from Katie. Next Sunday is Membership Sunday. So if you've been meaning to officially join our congregation, please email me right away. We can make it happen. I'm minister@melroseuu.org. We will also be celebrating some longtime members who are having special anniversaries next week, so that will be fun. Plus, we'll have our first all-church potluck lunch in 2 years, sponsored by our immigration ministry team, who are going to host our 2 new clients for this year, so it's our chance to meet them and get to know them. So we're looking forward to that. Please plan on being there. Mark your calendars. Also important, Tuesday, May 17th is the big all-church annual meeting. Here and on Zoom at 7 p.m., we will vote on our budget and our leaders for next year. So if you care, please be there. Then the following Sunday, May 22, is everybody's favorite worship service. That's the one where the youth lead us. And they run the show. It'll be awesome. And that Sunday, we'll have a beautiful bridging ceremony for our senior this year, Ellie Ferris. So we're going to commemorate her stepping into young adulthood in that ceremony. Bring your tissues. That's May 22nd. Now, let's get rolling with today's worship. Folks in the room here, remember you can submit your joys and sorrows in 2 ways. You can write them down on paper and have an usher read them if you want. If you need paper and pen, raise your hand right now and we will have an usher bring it to you. Also, let's see, here to help today are our ushers, Mark Viola and John Raymond. Also, our Zoom chat host is Liz Folzer. And Jennifer Fanning is hosting coffee hour for the first time. Be kind to her and helpful, please. Thank you to all of the volunteers today. Another little tiny program note, in addition to our masks optional coffee hour with food, we've also been asked to find a place for a masked in-person fellowship time after service. So we're going to experiment today with people who want to keep masks on. Stay here in the sanctuary afterward for chatting. And you can connect with church friends that way. I also want to remind members of our immigration ministry and anti-racism teams that we have a special meeting at noon today in Parish Hall, and we'll also have a Zoom room for people who want to come in hybrid. So, all that's done. It's time for our weekly moment of greeting. People in the room can wave to each other, hug, shake hands, whatever you feel like doing according to the color of your wristband. And people in the room, there you are, we can wave to you. Hello, good morning. Good to see you all. Hi. I see some smiling people. I see some people who might need a little more coffee too. That's good. That's fine. It's a good way to start your day. Enjoy your coffee along with worship. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to those who are celebrating. Okay. It's time for our call to worship. Whew. This morning I have a special reading for the call to worship. It's almost a little sermon in itself. It's by the UU minister, Reverend Taryn Strauss. She writes, "Do you know what motherhood is? Beyond gender, beyond bringing life, beyond feeding and cherishing the tender, fragile form of life's beginning, beyond dusting off a scrape and applying a balm, beyond calling the school and advocating for the safest, most liberating learning, beyond staying up and keeping vigil, beyond driving the car in traffic to rush someone to their most beloved, most fleeting interest, beyond demanding an end to all wars, violence, and shooting that always kills the precious children of mothers, beyond scraping together reserves of courage to send off her precious heart into places where either learning or growth or bullies or bullets could happen. It's living for someone beyond the self. Motherhood is the holiest prayer. Motherhood is foot washing. It is hours of devotionals, years of polishing sacred and non-sacred objects. It is the same vow made in the convent. A purpose beyond the self, wholly undertaken with all thy might. So give all the flowers in the world. Arrange the breakfast tray just so. Write love letters. Praise your mother's name. Curse or forgive the mother who could not make the vow stick. Not every monk fulfills their vows either. Bless the pregnant person who released their baby into the dreamscape, who chose life in service to a different purpose. Perhaps that person had a mother who fought for them to be safe and control their own body like any mother would. Mothering is limitless. We can all call mother. We can all mother each other and call each other mother. Praying to the great mama, we can hardly find the words nor acts of devotion to compare to someone who lived entirely for us beyond the self. What you can do in gratitude is to mother someone else while loving yourself well. Continue the vow to someone beyond the self, the daily acts of devotion. Nurture something growing. Heal someone who is not well. Liberate someone who needs to get free. Speak out for those who have no voice. Make peace somehow, somewhere. It is what your mother would have wanted. Now together we light the symbol of our living faith, the flaming chalice. Here to light it and give us a reading about mothers is a mother, our music director, Tara Tresner-Kirsch.
For All the Mothers, by Linda Susan Oldrich. For all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members who mother. The soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, the it's complicated mothers. The birth mothers, foster mothers, adopted mothers, stepmothers, the used-to-be dad mothers, and the more than one mom mothers. The single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers. The grieving mothers, those who grieve their mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother, and for all who depend on the great mother, you are held and beloved. This morning, our opening hymn this morning is Spirit of Life, which is 123 in the gray hymnal. We also show the lyrics on the screen up in front or over Zoom. Please rise in body or in spirit to lift our voices in song together. Spirit of life, come unto
time. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life a shape of justice. Roots hold me close, leaves set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Please, if you would, remain standing and join me in our covenant, which is on the screen here. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Go ahead and be seated. Thank you. It is time for our story now, which we have expanded recently to allow space for more creative contributions, some from members of the congregation. So today I have invited Nyla McCulloch, a longtime member, to offer a reflection on parenting. Nyla, come on up and thank you.
Good morning. Parenting today is not for the faint of heart. This world we are living in holds a myriad of challenges. Understatement, right? I recall an older neighbor of mine some 25 years ago saying to me when I was complaining about something my then one-year-old was doing, "Little people, little problems, Nyla." At the time, I did not have a clue what she was referring to, but as the years passed by, I got it. When Reverend Suzanne first asked if I would speak about the challenges of raising healthy kids these days on Mother's Day, I said, "Thank you for asking, but no." I thought, what do I know about being a parent? I've only been parenting for 26 years. I'm still learning. And what do I know about mental health and youth? I've only been a clinical social worker for 40 years, and I'm still learning. What do I have to offer? And then I thought, you know, after all this work and all the people I've worked with in individual therapy and family therapy, over all these years, maybe it all comes down to faith, hope, and love. I've had my own challenges with parenting. Our family has had its own challenges with mental health. In my work with individuals, couples, and families, everyone has had challenges. That's why they come see me. That's why they come to therapy. And often it has to do with raising children or disappointments people have had from their own childhood experiences. I was 39 years old when I had my daughter. My mother was 21 when she had me. Was I older and wiser at 39? You would think so, but the very nature of parenting is learning. We end up letting go of assumptions, what we think we know, and control. Have any of you had the experience of thinking, finally, he's sleeping through the night, we're all set? Then surprise, next stage of development, a new tooth, suddenly all is different. Just get them through infancy, toddlerhood, elementary school, Then surprise, adolescence is a whole world unto itself. What the heck is going on? Where did my sweet child go? Just get them through high school. So many twists, turns, and detours. Did not see that coming. But I was asked to speak about parenting and youth and mental health today in 2022. In the midst of massive influences from social media, free and easy access to all kinds of online material, vapes, cheap substances, societal stressors of climate change, televised war, gun violence, political upheaval, misinformation, racism, sexism, the cost of rent and housing, food insecurity, shall I go on? What about daily stressors of school, friends, and family? Today, parents and our children and adolescents are faced with an overwhelming amount of anxiety-producing stimuli, which washes over our psyches, alters our images of ourselves and others in the world, and gets lodged in our bodies, in our nervous systems. There's plenty of education and input about coping strategies, DBT, CBT, EMDR, insight timer, calm, yoga, and a shortage of mental health providers and services. In years past, parents would cajole or bribe or force kids into therapy offices. Now there are few therapists who have any space in their schedules to take on new clients. It's becoming increasingly the case that adolescents are the ones asking to talk to someone. So what do? Faith, hope, and love. In this time of shortages of mental health services, parents are often left on their own to deal with their children's mental health turbulence and crises. Parents and families often have to triage their own loved ones' situations and provide the safe holding environment until more help is available or the storm passes. And often this takes time. I tell parents to try to have faith. When they think this is it, he or she or they are going to be in the throes of depression or anxiety or addiction forever, lost forever. It is frightening when our loved ones are suffering, when they are on overload, and it is easy to begin forecasting bleak futures. I've done this myself. That's our anxiety talking. Keep the faith. Adult brain development is now thought to be mostly complete at age 26 or 27. We have to remember, our children want to be happy, healthy, and successful individuals, and when they're not, when they're struggling to meet our expectations, they're struggling more to meet their own. When they're slamming doors and giving parents the message to leave me alone, they need us to knock on the door. When they are saying, I effed up, and disparaging themselves, they want reassurance that they are loved and accepted. And sometimes it is hard to love. Sometimes we have to be intentional because it doesn't always come naturally at the time. Faith, hope, and love. In today's world of massive anxiety and distraction, people are still becoming parents. What is the impetus? I think it must be about the urge to love one another. And I think it must be about hope. Parents have to teach their children how to be in this world. Parents ideally instill hope. The pandemic of the past 2+ years has upended all of our lives, and particularly young people's lives. I know bright teens who would not turn on their cameras for Zoom school or were on another screen playing video games while class was in session. I work with a 20-year-old who has been making strides, and this week told me he has not been to class for the past 2 weeks, he's not going to be completing his assignments for the semester, and he's taking fall semester off. I know we don't yet know the whole fallout from the past 2 years and the impact on our youth. Our children are vulnerable. Faith, hope, and love. Our complex, interconnected society and world is increasing anxiety and depression across the age span, all while there are insufficient services available to help mediate them and to heal our spirits. With everyone looking at their phones all the time, parents pushing baby carriages looking at their phones, lovers in fine restaurants looking at their phones, teens everywhere looking at their phones. From a distance, one might think that everyone is very well connected, but we know that is not the case. Anxiety and depression often come from isolation and also spawn isolation. Connection is key to our mental health and that of our children. The family is of utmost importance. Whether it's our biological or chosen family, our commitment to each other and our families hopefully provides a safe space we need to connect and time to step back from the spinning world to reflect and to rest. to make some kind of sense out of our seemingly random world forces today. Our children and adolescents need time and space to step back and rest as well. We must continue to show up for each other. We must continue to knock on the door when it might feel easier to just let them be. We must have those hard conversations with each other so that we can learn what is in our hearts and in our minds. Our families, our institutions, our faith communities need to be the holding environments for our young people as they grow into who they are meant to be. And we as parents need to hold on to our sources of faith, hope, and love as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nyla. That was really beautiful. Gave me a lot to think about and feel about. Now is the time every week we set aside for prayer and meditation. Let us enter into that time together purposefully. Let us feel our bodies sink into our seats. Let's feel our feet on the floor. Let's take a breath together. Thank you. In our meditation time this morning, first we'll gather in our centering song, then we'll sit for a few minutes of shared silence, then we'll speak to one another of our joys and sorrows, and then I will lead a meditation. Our worship theme for May is nurturing beauty. It's a month to notice the natural world blossoming around us, to appreciate and grow the beauty inside us and all around us.
Our centering song for the month is called Let Us See the Beauty. As you sing along with this song, bear in mind that it is a 2-layered chant, and in our video for the month, the first layer will be sung by the choir, and then the second layer is sung by me. You're invited to sing with either layer or just listen and take a moment of reflection as we begin our time of prayer and meditation this morning.
Let us see the beauty every day, and source our lives from its presence. Let us see the beauty every day, and source our lives from its presence. Let us see the beauty every day, and source our lives from its presence. Let us see the
Every Sunday, we share with one another the joys and sorrows of our lives, our personal milestones. We listen to one another with openness and compassion, letting the sharing weave us into an ever stronger community. I invite the people at home on Zoom to type right now. If you have a sorrow to share with us today, type that into the chat box. We'll start with the sorrows. And I think we have some here on paper that Mark is going to share with us first. Mark, make sure that mic is on.
On? Can you hear me? Okay, we have one sorrow. My youngest brother has just been diagnosed with cancer, and he will begin getting chemotherapy treatment this coming Wednesday. Pray for his recovery.
Someone's
It's from
brother?
Elsa.
Elsa's brother?
Elsa, yep.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Thank you. And I wanted to invite the people who want to share a sorrow in the mic this morning to come on up. I should have said that before. Does anyone have a sorrow to share? Let me look in the Zoom room. Larry says, "This is my first Mother's Day since the loss of my mom, Harriet, on April 18th. Sorry, Larry." From Alistair, "A candle of concern and sorrow for our dear friend whose cancer has metastasized." I'm sorry, Alistair. Tara.
I'm thinking of my neighbors today who lost their husband and father in early March and celebrated two big holidays for their family this week, May Day and May the 4th, and now Mother's Day, and their husband and father had his birthday this week. So I cannot even imagine. Please hold Nora and her two young children in your hearts.
Thank you, Tara. Liz, you're our chat host. Have I missed any sorrows in the chat?
I think you have them all.
Thank you. Let's pause for a moment, everyone, and hold these sorrows in our minds and our hearts. Let us remember to reach out to all who are hurting today with our help and our love. And we'll light one candle now as a beacon of concern for all the concerns and sorrows, both spoken and unspoken. Thank you, Mark. If anyone has a joy they'd like to share today, I invite you to come forward. And go ahead, people at home, type them into the Zoom chat box if you like. I'll start. I forgot to mention I am wearing the stole that my mother made for my ordination 23 years ago, and it has a piece of the baby blanket I came home from the hospital in. Something from my mother's wedding dress, too. It's good for today. You have one on paper. Go ahead, Mark.
Also from Elsa. Happy to know that my daughter is pregnant. Wish her a healthy pregnancy and baby.
Elsa, for your daughter. We do. Come forward, Mary.
My brother Tim's oldest son, Jared, had a baby who was 6 weeks premature. He had to stay in the hospital for a little while. He had to eat his way out of the hospital. They said, "You got to gain some weight, kid. You're not going home until you gain the weight." He's at home. He's doing well, and it's a great joy to the family.
Beautiful, Mary. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Okay, on Friday, we cooked a meal for a Bread of Life meal for 120 people, boxed it up, and delivered it to First Baptist. I would like to thank Mary Delahanty for all her help in shopping and directing the kitchen. And I'd like to thank Jean and John Ty and Elsa Quadria and Liz Folser. They helped with all the cooking. We couldn't have done it without them. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Nancy. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who helped to feed the hungry on Friday. Beautiful. On behalf of our church, we thank you. Come forward, Lisa and John. Tell everybody your names again.
John Wright. Oh, she's going to make me speak. And this is my wife, Lisa. We found out last week that we've been finally activated on the National Kidney Registry for living donations. So that will mean that probably in the next 2 to 6 weeks, Lisa and I Lisa will be giving somebody a kidney, and I will be receiving a kidney from somebody. So we waited for almost 2 years for this.
And we're very grateful for all the support that all of you have given us. And I'm going to thank you ahead of time because we were going to take you up on all those offers that say, let us know what we can do to help.
We are keeping track of it between me and Mary Beth Griscom. Mary Beth, are you here today? We've got it covered, believe me. So please, if you can help, if you've got extra bandwidth in the next 6 weeks. We don't have a date yet. We have to wait for that to happen. So we're getting it all together now. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm Cheryl, and I'm very happy because last weekend Lily had her last competition of this dance cycle, and for her solo, she got a gold award, and then for her 2 group dances, the group together got gold 2 times, once for each performance. And then coming up this Thursday, I'm going to have 14-year-olds. I don't know what that's like yet. But so birthday's coming up. So
That's exciting, Cheryl. I have some joys in the Zoom room. Actually, a lot of joys in the Zoom room. It's a happy day.
Reverend Suzanne, I'm going to jump in and suggest that you scroll up to Adrienne W's joy, which she started with the capital letters. And if you start there, I think you'll catch them all.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. From Adrienne, a joy. Thank you for all the love, care, and support from MUUC members while I'm recovering. Adrienne had a car accident last weekend, and she has a bit of a concussion, but she's feeling better. I'm glad you're feeling better, Adrienne. From Mary Beth G., there you are, a joy. Dan and I had a great trip to Florida and a visit with our son, Andy. It was lovely respite and so nice to reconnect with the fella who made me a mom. Hi, Mary Beth. There she is. There she is. Thank you, Bill. We're all waving to you, Mary Beth. From Florence, a candle of celebration for my mom's 70th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. From Stacy, a joy. Heather and Ethan are joyous to be dog-sitting Ella this week. Now, Ella is Janice's dog, right? I think so. No? Am I wrong? Yes, okay, good. Happy dog-sitting. From Alistair, a candle of joy and thanks for all the wonderful help we received Friday night for the Kemp Harris show when Stacy and I were both quarantined at home. Thank you to Bill, Suzanne, Beth, Tug, Paul, Jane, the anti-racism team, the tech team, and everyone who showed up. It was a great night, Alistair. Thank you to you. From Jane and Chuck, 25 years ago on May 10th, we were married by the Reverend Phyllis O'Connell in the sanctuary at MUUC. From Alex Leach, joy, my brother got engaged this week. It's wonderful to welcome another member into our family. That's wonderful, Alex. From Mary, one of our Marys, a joy, tests revealed that my dad did not have either pneumonia or a malignancy in his left lung. He is continuing to recover in the hospital. Glad for you, Mary. From Carol, a candle for my mom, who I miss every day. From Quinn, my Quinn, joy for being able to watch my mother's wonderful sermon with my partner. Quinn is in Minneapolis today with his boyfriend. And from Alistair, a hooray. Liz, did I miss any other joys?
You got them all.
I got them all, and that was a lot today. So let's light one more candle to shine out our gratitude for all the many blessings in our lives. Thank you so much for sharing these joys. They help us connect to one another and connect to the beauty of living. Alistair says his hooray was for the kidney transplant. We're all with you, John and Lisa. If you would please join me in the spirit of prayer. I have a two-part meditation for you this morning. You may be thinking today of your own mother. If that relationship was good and healthy, you may be holding your mother wherever she is now in your heart. Do that and breathe in. If that relationship was not so healthy, you are welcome with us too. You may want to let go of that today and hold someone else in your heart right now. Let another face come up in your mind, someone else who nurtured you, helped you to become your loving, true self. Let's take a moment now together to hold in our hearts these nurturers, the ones who loved us into being and into greater fullness. Remember their faces. Let your heart blossom with memories now. Let's sit for a moment together with all those feelings arising, and let's breathe. As we imagine that person who nurtured us, let us feel in our hearts all the love and gratitude we have for this person. Let's imagine it flowing out from us to her. And imagine her taking it all in. Now for the second part of our meditation. Let your mind bring forward someone else in your life, someone who is nurturing other people these days. Maybe it's a mother or a parent that you know. Maybe it's all parents. Maybe it's your own self. That is true too. Let that nurturer's face rise up in your imagination. Let yourself imagine what her days are like. Think of all she does every day for other people. Imagine how tired she is. Let your heart blossom now with feelings for her. Sit for a moment now with these feelings arising and breathe. Now imagine all your love and gratitude for this person. Imagine it flowing out toward her now, and she's taking it all in. Great Spirit of love and of life, center of all things, power of our birth. Help us remember today all the people who loved us into being, who loved us through our journey thus far. Help us connect to them and to the flow of love down through the generations and through us forward into the future. Our connection is our purpose and our hope. Amen. Now is the time for our offertory. Our church is a self-sustaining community organization funded by your generous annual pledge. You can contribute to our weekly collection plate in addition, which we split every month with a deserving cause. Folks on Zoom can donate either way using the orange button at the top right-hand corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. For May, our giving partner, chosen by the high school youth group, is Youth on Fire, which is a drop-in center for homeless and street-involved youth and young adults that is run out of the UU Church in Cambridge. Every year, Youth on Fire serves hundreds of young people, providing meals and snacks, mental health check-ins, and housing support. For our offertory music this morning, it's very exciting. Tara will offer us our first live cello music in person in over 2 years. This is the first Bourrée from Bach's Suite in C major for unaccompanied cello. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Tara. Well, as many of you here know, my husband and my children and I lived in Wales in the UK for 13 years, and that covered most of my kids' childhood and my time spent actively mothering. To raise kids so far from home in another country, another culture where I had no family or friends, I felt very isolated. I think it's similar to what many parents have felt during the pandemic, the overwhelming, all-consuming 24/7 of it all. I remember it well. And there is one Sunday that stands out particularly in my mind. It was Mother's Day 2011, I think, and we were 3 hours or so from home in a small village in northern England that happened to have an old Unitarian chapel. So I was just thrilled at the chance to attend worship that day, especially somewhere other than the tiny Unitarian fellowship that we had helped to found back in Wales, where we only met once a month, and I usually spent that time leading the RE group because my kids were 3/5 of the whole RE program. So that day in England, I'd hoped to be able, for once, just to attend, to soak it in, to be ministered unto. I hoped the hymns and homily that day would bring me a sense of connection and inspiration. I hoped that my exhausted spirit would find comfort and uplift. I think our kids were something like 5, 8, and 11 at that time. And there were about 20 other people in the service that day who were all gray-haired, so I felt very self-conscious about the kids. We stuck out, and so I worked hard to keep the kids quiet for that hour, as did James. I remember digging through my bag almost constantly, trying to find another toy or another snack. I remember something noisy that fell under the pew and the kids climbing under it and under people's legs to get it back. Shh, shh, shh. I would never shush anybody here, but I have that voice in my head still, I think. And was it worth all the work that day? No, it wasn't. British hymnody is very different from ours, so I didn't recognize any of the melodies, and singing was kind of a chore. And then there was the homily. The middle-aged woman who was leading the service did not have children, she told us straight out, but she did have a troubled relationship with her own mother, and she hated Mother's Day. Every year it filled her with grief and anger, and that was her homily. And I remember leaving that service more depleted than when I entered. In addition to my exhaustion and loneliness, I felt more isolated and invisible than ever. And I thought, oh, Mother's Day is just so complicated. And just this past week, when putting together this worship service, the memory came back to me strong. Mother's Day is so complicated. It brings up so many feelings in so many of us. How could I craft a service that makes space for it all the disappointment, all the joy, all the exhaustion? Can one worship service even hold it all? Can it possibly serve all the people in the room? And of course, I think this pandemic has made all of this even more complicated. After 2 years of increased anxiety and fear and isolation, as Nyla talked about, even more overwork, our parents seem even more exhausted. Just last night, we had planned something special here in the church. Finally, it was our first parents' night out, and I was so excited. It had gotten postponed several times. It was the first, at least in my time here. We had invited all the families in our RE program to drop off their kids here for free fun time, while the parents gathered at a local restaurant for food and conversation, and we were even going to chip in and pay for it. We were hoping that we would dream together about how to rebuild our RE program after its slump during the pandemic. It was the first time that we had felt safe enough to feed the kids dinner together downstairs and make it really a whole evening and worth doing. It was the first time we thought we could gather safely at a restaurant, and we had to cancel it on Friday, the last minute, because some of the organizers tested positive, and it just didn't make sense to do it without them. And that was the same day that our Opening Doors concert was here, and the main organizers had to gather there in person, not in person, but by Zoom. It's been 2 years of this seesaw, this back and forth, planning and then postponing and replanning, hoping and disappointment. I know for everybody it's been really tough, and especially for those people who've lost loved ones. Any of the 1 million people gone now to COVID. I know it's been devastating, of course. And for our parents, it's been a whole other thing. They've been those who've been actively sending kids to school or schooling them at home, negotiating outbreaks among their friends, putting masks on little tiny faces, praying for vaccines for months and years. It's been beyond complicated and beyond exhausting, beyond words, actually. In January, an essay in the Atlantic Monthly put it this way. It started off like this. Last Thursday, a group of 20 mothers in Boston met up outside a local high school. Their goal wasn't to socialize, drink wine, or even share COVID-related tips. They were there for one reason, and one reason only, to stand in a circle, socially distanced, of course, and scream. The essay went on about parenting in the pandemic and then said this. When mothers feel there is no more appealing way to spend an evening than to yell into the frigid January darkness, something is very, very wrong. Parents in the U.S. are living through a universally terrible moment. Parents were defeated long before Omicron. Now we've reached a stage of the pandemic where finding the right words even to describe our lot is simply an exercise in absurdity. We are broken. We have nothing left in us but screams of anger and pain, unquote. That is really hard. It's really hard. And I just think it's so important for all of us to stop for a moment and just acknowledge this. Acknowledge what our parents have been going through all this time. Even if we can't help them, even if we can't give them a parents' night out or a respite, we can at the very least say to them, we see you, and we know how hard this is, and we are sorry, and we love you. I should be looking at the camera because the parents, I think, are at home today. 3 days ago, a story came out in the New York Times. A new report says that 66% of working parents meet the criteria for parental burnout, which is a non-clinical term that means they are so exhausted by the pressure of caring for their children, they feel they have nothing left to give. 66%. So how did they measure that? Well, the parents had to rate 10 statements on a scale from not at all to very much so. And the statements were things like, I wake up exhausted at the thought of another day with my children. Or, I feel like I'm in survival mode as a parent. I remember when I felt that way. And we have to ask, if parents are feeling that way, what message does it send to their kids? How do they grow up well with parents who are this burned out? So I asked Nyla to come and speak to us about this crisis today. Because it's related to what our parents are going through, of course it is. And some older people might think, well, parenting has always been hard, right? Growing up has never been easy, and that's true. Parenting has always been difficult and always been sacred work. But I think it used to be shared more. We had extended families to help us, and we didn't face so much pressure to do it perfectly, to shield our kids from every conceivable threat. I had a parent in the congregation tell me the other week that she couldn't let her 10-year-old walk down the street to a friend's house for fear that someone would think she was a bad parent. You know, it's a very different atmosphere these days. Moreover, this crisis in families is linked to our country's obsession, I believe, with individualism and perfection, which I've preached about a lot. Since we've overinvested in this idea of the self-made man, our culture also perpetuates this myth that individual nuclear families ought to be self-sufficient somehow, able to operate as 100% independent units, both financially and logistically. And that's ridiculous, we all know. But that's what the culture wants us to think. And we put pressure on each other from that. Every other developed nation has universal health care and paid parental leave, every single one but ours. Most every other developed nation has universal preschool, government-supported daycare, affordable higher education. Most societies in the developed world value their families and create national structures to support them. Dr. Catherine Bindorf, the medical director of the Motherhood Center in New York City, says that the idea of the parental burnout scale is helpful, but it's wrong to frame this as an individual problem. The issues are systemic, she says. Burnout is happening in the context of a national crisis, which is about things like policies like paid parental leave and universal child care. Without these things, what are we supposed to do? So today, on Mother's Day, it's a moment to see both, to see individuals in our lives who are hurting and who need our support, and to see the system overall, which is broken and which needs fixing. We can do both. We can work on both together. Of course, I know you know that just this week, mothers and all women whose lives, all women and all those who love them, were taken aback with the leaked Supreme Court draft decision. I know it broke some hearts, and it filled many of us with a holy rage, because we know that motherhood should always be a choice. Maybe it wasn't always a choice, but it always should be a choice. How we use our bodies, how we use our time should be our choice. And now we are afraid for our futures, for our daughters and our sons and our grandchildren. You know that the very first Mother's Day arose in protest of the Civil War, right? Julia Ward Howe, a Unitarian, wrote Battle Hymn of the Republic, and she also wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation, which invited all mothers to rise up together against a state or any state that would use up their sons and waste their lives. We need to fill ourselves with her fighting spirit today. We need this ancestor to help us rise up against a state that would misuse our bodies and our lives. In our call to worship, the Reverend Terence Strauss connected our faith life with our nurturing life. She said, "What you can do is mother someone else while loving yourself well. Continue the vow to love someone beyond the self and the daily acts of devotion. Nurture something growing. Heal someone who is not well. Liberate someone who needs to get free. It's what your mother would have wanted." I loved Nyla's sermon this morning. She asked us to hold fast to our own sources of faith, hope, and love, and to build them into strong environments for ourselves and our youth. Absolutely, Nyla, and amen. Let this church be a place that can nurture individuals and families. And let us also join together to fix the larger system, to work for a nation that supports mothers and families with good policies and reproductive freedom. This Mother's Day and every Mother's Day, let us honor those who choose to nurture, choose to love, choose to work for a human future that is more loving, more peaceful, and more equitable for all. Amen. We close with a very fitting hymn, We Laugh, We Cry, which is number 354 in the gray hymnal. We will sing verses 1, 2, and 4, and we will have the lyrics up on a slide, so you don't even have to get your books out. Thank you, Tara.
to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. And we have hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is the answer. A child is born among us, and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear the imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our heart and minds to the feeling of this child, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a time to be together. And with the grace of age, we have the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, humility, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
For remaining standing and joining with me, please, in our chalice extinguishing words, which are on the screen now. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated. Our service has ended. Please enjoy a brief postlude on the cello. Oh, delightful, from Tara. Friends on Zoom can stay in the main room to chat. Others can join when Tara's finished in the parish hall for snacks and coffee hour, or you might stay here in the sanctuary if you prefer to keep a mask on and see people that way. Thank you all for worshiping with us today, and happy Mother's Day, and thank you.
Thank you.